Henry, right?
Yeah.
So what's wrong with you?
Excuse me?
Firewatch has been on my Steam wishlist ever since I built my PC back in 2016, and I've never played it because I've always gravitated towards games with more action in them. It's a story-rich, adventure, mystery game, so come along and let's dive into Firewatch. First day on the job, he meets a woman that works in another watchtower that we can see right over there in the distance. While Henry is making his acquaintance with Delilah, they get rudely interrupted by fireworks.
Whoa, that's not legal, right?
No. You need to get down there right now and stop them. Fire danger is through the fucking roof.
He arrives at the scene of the crime, but no one's there, and I always wanted to know if Henry was in his 20s or 30s, but this clip that I'm about to show you leaves no doubt in my mind that he's in his mid-30s.
What do you know? People with shitty manners drink shitty beer.
I don't know why, but being an IPA beer snob is an automatic, default passive trait that every man in their 30s has. Henry spots two silhouettes of drunken teens in the water, and as soon as he stops the music, they just roast him for being a creep.
You probably have a tiny dick.
After leaving their campsite, Henry spots a shadowy figure at the top of the footpath, shining a flashlight, and just as we're about to ask who's there, the man leaves. He returns to his watchtower, but the typewriter is on the ground. And when we go up the watchtower, we can see that the living space is fully looted. When Henry reports the robbery to Delilah, they both blame the teenagers, those pesky teenagers. The next day, a storm knocked out a power line, and his boss Delilah asks him to go check what the problem is. But once he gets there, the wire has been cut, and there's a note on the rock from the two teenagers telling him to go to hell. When we report to Delilah what we saw, Delilah gets furious and wants Henry to kick those two teenagers out of the park. He spots a smoke trail from the distance and follows it to their camp. To his surprise, the encampment is destroyed and it's totally empty. Henry walks around the encampment and he sees his bed sheets, he sees a bunch of other things that were stolen, and he discovers a note the girls left behind saying that they're leaving the forest because he stole the fireworks and that they'll go tell on him for being a creep. While walking back to the watchtower, Henry takes a different path and he finds a backpack hanging on a tree branch. And when he's digging inside, there's a bunch of things belonging to someone named Brian Goodwin. Delilah tells him that a man named Ned Goodwin was the tower watcher last summer before Henry.
He was stationed in Two Forks, your lookout, with his dad Ned 3 summers ago. Great kid.
You can bring children out here?
No. You know, I'm not a stickler for rules. They took off halfway through the summer.
Surely both of their disappearance won't tie into the story later on. The game suddenly jumps to day 76, and Henry's tone of voice with Delilah has changed, and the gamer gets to witness them flirting non-stop, which is kind of gross. Henry decides to go fishing, and he spots a clipboard on a rock. And when he looks at it, whoa, wait a minute. I don't talk to other lookouts as much as I talk to you? What's your favorite music? Someone's been listening to their flirtatious conversations and wrote them down. Henry starts to freak out and turns around to find a walkie-talkie on the ground. And as soon as he goes up to get it, he gets violently knocked out. He wakes up dazed and confused, the clipboard is gone, but when he talks to Delilah, she doesn't really believe him. She thinks that Henry's going crazy after being in the forest for almost 76 days. Right before getting knocked out, Henry remembers that at the top of the clipboard, there's a name called Wapiti. Thankfully, when we look on the map, it's a little bit out west, but on the way there, both of them hear this.
Did you just cough?
No. Did you just cough?
No.
Oh, fuck.
Fuck.
Delilah freaks out, tells Henry to go to his watchtower, lock the doors, lay low, and to stop using the walkie-talkies because now she believes him. The next day, Delilah calls Henry on his walkie-talkie, and she's talking in a very weird manner, super happy, yet super fake, and it weirds him out. She tells Henry to look at his flora map and to look at the top row.
Do you see the tree in the top row, second from the left? And there's an area called, that tree's name in your sector that maybe you should take a midday hike to.
She's talking in codes so that the other person hearing the conversation can't understand what's going on. Blue spruce? No, that's not it. Oh, cotton. Okay, cottonwood. Wait, that's on my map. And it says right here, Cottonwood Creek. When Henry arrives, he finds an orange box with a new walkie-talkie inside. Once he calls her with the new walkie-talkie, Delilah asks him to go and see what's inside Wapiti. When we get there, it's fully fenced off, and not one of those little construction fences, but a real, chain link fence. Henry breaks the lock with his axe, and as soon as we're inside the perimeter, we find an antenna and also a tent. Inside the tent, there's a bunch of gadgets, doohickeys, thingamabobs, and other surveillance equipment. The creepiest part about it is that he finds reports about them like they're a bunch of test lab rats, which a bunch of test scores and aptitude tests. At this point of my playthrough, this got way too weird for me, and I forced Henry to leave as fast as possible, and as soon as we made it up the mountain, we look around and someone burnt the tent. Henry uses a thingamabob that he took from the tent and it keeps beeping frantically like he's playing Phasmophobia. But the beeping leads him to discover a backpack with a key. And when we look closer, it says Cave 452 on the key. And hey, would you look at that? It's on our map. Henry opens the gate door and the cave goes very deep underground. I think I was there for a good 10-15 minutes. This is where I was super excited. Are we gonna find a treasure? Are we gonna get rich? But unfortunately, no, it's a little bit more sad. We find Brian's corpse at the bottom of a huge cliff. So we call Delilah, and she just feels guilty that she didn't snitch on Ned for having Brian on the watchtower, because if she did that, that kid would have never died.
Gotta be fucking kidding me. How does that... What? I don't... How?
We wake up the following morning, and the fire that started at the Wapiti tent with all of the transcript has grown into an uncontrollable fire, and both of them need to evacuate the forest now. While heading to the evac point on the map, Henry sees his own name written on a rock with a Walkman. He listens to it and it's Ned's monologue saying that last summer, him and his son went rock climbing in the cave, and unfortunately his son's rope snapped, which led to his tragic death. And then Henry spots a bunker out in the distance, and when he opens up the latch, it's Ned's bunker. And he sees a bunch of stuff that was stolen from his watchtower. Basically, Ned's been living out in the woods because he's way too ashamed to go back into society after his son's accidental death. Ned Goodwin says that the government camp in Wapiti was a real camp. But at night, when all of the workers went away, he used the radio equipment to listen to other walkie-talkies in the forest to ensure that nobody was looking out for him. Yeah. All that is good, but Henry is about to meet for the first time Delilah in person. You know, the girl he's been flirting with during the whole game. So we run to the evac point, excited to see, to put a face to the girl that we've been flirting with the whole game. And she's nowhere to be seen. She just left. Disappointed, Henry hops into the rescue chopper to never hear or talk to Delilah ever again. Then the credits roll in, and all I could think of is just how disappointing of an ending it was. I enjoyed my playthrough, but there's just a bunch of things that didn't really click during my playthrough. So you're telling me that Delilah walked from her watchtower at night, walked next to my tower without saying hello, dumped a walkie-talkie in a box, passed my tower again, and walk back home. You can't just have two walkie-talkies that speak to each other. You have to tune into a channel. So even with the new walkie-talkies, Ned could still tune into their channel. So it doesn't make sense. There's a bunch of conspiracy videos on YouTube that I would recommend watching. The reason I think this game has a huge big cult following is because of the huge Firewatch iceberg that makes you think. What do the reviews say about it? This game completely changed my life. I got up from my Mac and started going outside. Everything in this experience was just magnificent. I don't even have words to describe how beautiful this game looks. And don't get me started on the story. Everything was perfectly planned. 8 out of 10. Boring, pretentious, just not a good time. Listen, it wasn't my genre of video game, I can admit that, but at the same time, it took me 5 hours to complete, and I bought the game for less than $5. So I got my $1 for 1 hour of playtime. I like the art style. It really made me think about Raft. If you've ever played that video game, it has the same type of aesthetic. I also enjoyed the fact that usually in other video games, I like linear games that kind of spoon feed me where to go and it points it on the map. But here you had to use your map, and just by a prompt, you would have to kind of guide yourself into the forest, which I kind of liked it. It's a bit different. And my final verdict for this video game is I would give it 9 fire emojis out of 10. The reason that it's not a perfect score is just because I didn't shoot anything. The most violent thing that I did was brute force my way into a door. If you made it this far into the video, I really want to thank you very much for watching. It means a lot to me. If you have the time, I have other videos in the same type of style where I explain a story, but hopefully I get to see you next week with another video. Alright, bye.